the CDC allowed the teachers union to write the order closing our schools.
All right, now this video is extremely important, and there's a reason why. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but RFK Jr. had a Senate hearing, and the discussion of that Senate hearing was what's going on with him and his issues with the jabs and what's going on at the CDC. And really, we know what these Senate hearings have turned out to be. They're nothing more than an opportunity for the Democrats or the Republicans to get somebody up there that is against what their ideology is, and they just attack. Now, one thing I will say, and again, I've seen both sides do this, but one thing I'll say about the Democrats, they do it in a relentless and a vicious attacking mode. Republicans ask questions and want to stand stern, and I'm not being biased on that. This is from watching. The Democrats get somebody down there, and their whole objective is just to throw darts and to embarrass this person, never to try to see or to meet eye to eye. And I'm going to show you an image, and this image I'm about to put up is extremely important. Now, the topic you see, Trump backed Kennedy on jab despite the risk. Now, in this video, I'm going to let you see the fireworks and the sparks that flew at this hearing and how RFK, he stood his ground. And one thing about him, you know, we all have our issues and our quirks. I just wish that his voice was a little clearer, because in his attempts, he's making great points, but his voice is so kind of raspy and it's go tore up. It is difficult to understand sometimes. But what I did, I took the best portions where he has the most clarity, but he also was putting his foot on their neck. Now, look at this picture right here. Okay, I want to show this to you. Now, you may or may not be familiar with this picture. Okay, or this picture right here. I'll give you that one close up. What this is doctors have found these new squid-like type blood clots in people's bodies that have had the jab. And we're not just talking about one or two, the numbers are growing. And so in this hearing, what RFK was fighting against was the fact that the federal government had mandated that people put untested chemicals in their bodies without any type of knowledge about what the risk or the outcome might be. And before I get into this article, I'm going to show you what one of the risks that came out is or was. Check this out right here. As you can see right here, and you know how YouTube is, they like to strike for certain words. So that CO blank ID word, I won't say that, but I'll say Blovit. How about that? So as you can see, Blovit, and you see that M, and then the rest of the word, because they'll sing you for that too, is linked to myocardial scarring in children and in young adults. Okay, the tests and the studies are coming out on this. So I'm not sure if you or someone you know actually took the jab, and not even just the jab, all of those additional boosters that starts with the B. Again, I know that seems petty in the way that I'm wording this, but you have to understand, YouTube, those people that don't want the truth to come out, a lot of them still run these platforms, okay? And they don't like that, because what it does, anybody that agrees with it will have to admit that the Biden administration forced something on people that could end lives, debilitate lives, and shorten lives, okay? And studies and tests are coming out all over the world. So as you can see, I just wanted to show you this, that it is linked to that. There are more professional athletes and college athletes were falling out and collapsing on the ground than ever before. Okay, so let me get back into it. So this is what's been found in people's bodies, okay? Now, this gentleman right here, he went in, he got a jab, and what it did for him, you see that tongue? That's that man's real tongue. That's his real tongue. It swole up so big, it couldn't even fit in his mouth. And you see how far it is down? Now, luckily, the physicians were able to do work, and they got him right. But as you can see, and that's a different shirt. That's a totally different day. Look at his tongue. I think his wife said that it got something like 9 or 10 inches out. It couldn't even fit in his mouth. But they were able to fix it, cut it, and get him back right, okay? So as far as this article, this is another one. Now, this is from Yale Medicine. The link between Johnson & Johnson's Blovit and the clots, what you need to know. So real quick, then I'm gonna get into the video clips, because it's just important that we're up on this. So no more can you listen to somebody say, oh, why are people overreacting about this? They're not. The studies are out, but you have the powers that be that were in the Biden administration and a lot of these doctors like Fauci who know what type of backlash and what type of risk they run of possibly being in prison for attempted murder, allegedly, because they knew. The emails have come out. These folks knew about the testing. They knew about everything. But let me get back to RFK situation. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, just so you know, the J&J, Baba, is no longer available in the U.S. They pulled it. Now, think about the millions of people that already had this in their bodies, though. They yanked it. And so I bring these things up. So as we go through these clips, it's not just me speaking from an opinionated point of view. This is me telling you that the science is in. The doctors have done the work, and they realized that it was BS. Now they say, oh, it saved lives. No one really knows how many lives were saved and what actually did it. the Biden administration don't want to tout that it was the jab. But I never took a jab or none of those extra things. Nothing. My children didn't either. Well, one, my youngest son is in the military, so you know they forced it on him. But my wife, prior to us, when we first met, she's a nurse. She's a nurse. She said that when she went, they split people that were in the medical field in the one lane and everybody else in another line. And she said they had on different color bracelets. Now, have you noticed something? You notice out of all of the medical professionals and them that took a jab, we don't know where it was from. You haven't heard a high report of people in the medical field that fell ill from it. You haven't heard that. It makes you wonder, were they giving out separate types of doses? We know that there were different types now. We know that. It's public record. But let me get into this RFK cooking these Democrats. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on the clots. That's a real thing. And if you have a young child, a young adult, especially a young male that you know that took those things, please know and be aware that myocarditis is a real issue that's arising in young males between 18 to 25. So just be up on that. Now, in this first clip, we're going to set this thing off where RFK is going to let us know about the whole situation with the pandemic. And wait till you hear what he had to say about the strategy and how it came out and the information that was given to us. Check this clip out. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like helps get the information out there to other people. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're already subscribed or you're subscribing right now, make sure that you hit the notification bell and you select all. That way, because YouTube has been having an issue with getting the notifications out. But when you select all, it makes sure that YouTube will notify you the next time I upload new videos.
Do you believe COVID-19 was politicized?
Yeah, the whole process was politicized. Senator, I mean, we were lied to about everything. We were lied to about natural immunity. We were lied to about, we were told again and again that they would prevent transmission, they prevent infection. It wasn't true. They knew it from the start. It wasn't true because that's what the animal studies and the clinical trial showed. We were told that there was science behind cloth masks. The CDC allowed the teachers union to write the order closing our schools, which hurt working people all over the country, and then pretend it was science-based. All of these issues, and then I can show you, like, for example, Chairman Wyden was talking about me politicizing ACIP. During COVID, probably the most famous scientist on ACIP was Martin Kulldorff from Harvard, the great, world-renowned epidemiologist and vaccinologist. And he criticized the COVID booster mandates. They ejected him from COVID because he wasn't in the orthodoxy. The two biggest health officials at FDA during COVID, Dr. Gruber and Dr. Krause, criticized the Biden mandates. Vaccine, President Biden said in August, I would never take that vaccine, the Trump vaccine. And he came in, he mandated it, and then he fired the two top health officials at FDA who said, hey, this thing has not been properly tested. So the whole process was politicized, and even today.
So I'm 15.
So as you heard him say, everything was a lie from the gate. They lied to us about everything. They fired the top officials, and it's all come out now. Some of the top epidemiologists and doctors in the world were coming out saying, hey, something's not right about this. This thing ain't been tested right. And you know what happened? They were blacklisted. They were blackballed. It was Twitter at the time. Their Twitter accounts were deactivated. Instagram accounts were deactivated. Why? Because they were speaking the truth. You remember what everybody said about ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. Now, guess what they find out? Hydroxychloroquine is a good remedy for that situation. And they found out that ivermectin is not just for horses. They actually do make a dosage for humans. How do I know? Because I've taken some before. Because at that time, that's exactly what I use, hydroxychloroquine. No issues whatsoever. Perfectly fine. And it's people that I do know that did get involved in that and got in there and took the jab. And they're having a lot of health issues right now. Things that prior to that, they had never had any issues or concerns about before. So you heard RFK set it off with this. Now, in this next one, we're going to have Senator Ron Johnson. And Ron Johnson, he don't mess around. He's one of the main people that spearheaded bringing to light that President Biden and his family have been taking all of that money from China, from Russia, from Ukraine. Not only came with the speculation, but had the results, had the facts, had the bank statements. But the lamestream media acted like, oh, they couldn't find any links to Biden and taking money. They couldn't find any links between his family. That's a lie. They found between $20 and $30 million that had been given and transferred to Hunter, distributed between Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, and Joe Biden's grandchildren were getting wires, 25,000 from the Chinese to his grandchildren's accounts. Now, why would his grandchildren be getting wires from the Chinese? And I'm going to say allegedly, even though it's not allegedly, because the documentation was proved. That's why Joe Biden pardoned his entire family. You may or may not notice, he didn't just pardon himself, Hunter, and his brother, his entire family. I mean, including his grandchildren his daughters-in-laws. Like, he wasn't messing around. 9 members of the Biden family had been covered in those quote-unquote pardons, which we now know may have been signed by the auto pen. We know thousands were, because he pardoned, 1,500 people. We know over like 1,000 or 1,200 of them were auto pen, at least. But we don't know specifically if he actually authorized the Biden family members. But from what I understand, he didn't. Now, in this clip, we're going to let Ron Johnson cook and hear what RFK had to say also. Check this clip out.
My committee's got now over 8 million pages of information. Just in the first tranche, by the way, what we discovered is the CDC, somebody in the federal health agencies, this interagency communication, hid the signal. They admitted there was a signal on myocarditis, and they hid it. They didn't warn the public. They didn't warn doctors. So that's just one instance of corruption and lies told by the CDC. We've got a lot of others we'll be rolling out, okay? So we held our first hearing in front of a subcommittee investigation on that hiding of the signal myocarditis. We've heard a lot of studies, okay? As I've looked into science, it's been thoroughly corrupted. Here's data, and I'd like to enter this sheet into the record. I've been publishing this chart for, since really early 2021, when I'm on, for example, talk radio shows and they talk about this, they get deplatformed, or they were, because all the censorship in the Biden administration. Here's the facts. The VAERS system that was touted in October of 2020, this great safety surveillance system on COVID, a few months later, when they didn't like the results, they started denigrating their own system. But VAERS shows that there have been 38,742 deaths reported on VAERS worldwide associated with the COVID vaccine. 38,742. 9,252 of those deaths occurred on the day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days. Again, I agree with you. Nobody knows how many COVID deaths were because the information was completely corrupted. Nobody knows how many lives were saved. I think most people, okay, if you're vulnerable, raise your antibodies, reverse severity, fine. There's not any good study on that. There's just information out there, just claims being made. This is hard evidence.
So as you heard, Ron Johnson, hard evidence that close to 10,000 people on the date that they took the jab, or within 1 or 2 days, within 48 hours, they're no longer here afterwards. Not to mention the thousands that they can tie in to relate it to jab. And that's just the ones that they can tie in. I know somebody specifically whose mother had asthma. She had asthma her whole life. She was having a hard time breathing from her asthma. She went in. They literally said, oh, we think it's this, quarantined her, put her on one of those machines, and within days she was gone. And my buddy never got a chance to hug his mother again, because this was during the early stages where everybody said, oh, it was one of those where people were afraid to go into the hospital, because if you went in, there was a strong chance that they might not let you out off of those tests that they were doing. Now come to find out they were faulty, doing the swabs wasn't always right. And how many people were just in there and passed away just from a broken heart and fear? And the results from those ventilator machines was horrible. From anybody that went on that ventilator for longer than 48 hours, terrible results. But Ron Johnson wasn't playing with him. Now, in this next clip, this is RFK just going straight for the jugular with Elizabeth Warren, because we always know the fake Pocahontas, she always is looking for a chance to try to get out there and stick her head out and get a gotcha moment or a viral moment to do some fundraising. But on this one, RFK didn't let her slide. He actually put her on Front Street and blasted just how much money in kickbacks she's been getting from Big Pharma. Check this out.
Let's clear this up right now, Secretary Kennedy. Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6 months of age are eligible to get a COVID booster at their local pharmacy today?
Anybody can get the booster.
I'm sorry?
Anybody can get it. Senator.
Anybody. So you're saying that is now the official rule of HHS. Anybody is eligible to get a booster by just walking into the pharmacy.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost.
You have to ask yourself, really ask yourself, why are these Democrats, why was the Biden administration so adamant with forcing people to take this thing? Never in history has there ever been a government mandate to put something in your body that now we know they didn't even know what was going on. But yeah, you lose your job. You'd be kicked out of the military. You'd be ostracized by your family members, by your friends. You have people, you were telling people if you didn't take it, you wanted people to die, that you were somehow an attempted murderer. Like all of these crazy things to psychologically freak people out. Do you remember that? When if you didn't take it, you were evil. You were the enemy. You were being unpatriotic. They even tied it to patriotism.
As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking
And
them away
the
from people,
consequence-
Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
That's an evil woman. Just look at her face. The glasses, they fool people, and that. But look at her face.
Most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
$200.
Most Americans will be able to get it from their
No,
pharmacy
the
for free.
question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise.
I know I
Mr.
didn't.
Kennedy,
I
not
never
mine.
promised that I was going to
You didn't
recommend
promise-
products
Oh,
with which
I'm
there is no
sorry.
indication.
When you said.
And I know you've
vaccines
taken
would work for someone,
$855,000 from
I'm not
pharmaceutical
going to take
companies,
them away.
Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you?
Look at that face. And as you heard, RFK just blasted her for taking $850,000. Now she goes on with this. Oh, did you tell me lying? Because he will not stand behind and promote a product that has no testing. And they're pissed off because he won't just say, yes, everybody take it. Because now we're getting into the winter months. The Democrats are gearing up and they're pushing for one people to do it. And I'm not even just going to say Democrats, but because you do have some rhinos on the other side that are also paid by Big Pharma. One thing about us in the MAGA world, we got to call balls and strikes. Now, all of the Democrats are pushing for it. You don't hear the Republicans so much loudly pushing for the jab because they know the base doesn't like it. As a matter of fact, there's a wide batch of MAGA that did not go and fall for that jab trap. But you have some that are also paid by Big Pharma that also had to make sure during this hearing they threw a little something at RFK. They couldn't just not say anything because their pharma donors would say, hey, you didn't say anything. So you had a couple of Republicans that were pushing back on him when it comes to the jab. But you know who is standing with him? President Trump and J.D. Vance. That's what he needs right now because he's already got the position. Now, listen to this. This is where he is really calling it out, and he's going to let the CDC know, and he's going to call out Senator Wyden to his face.
CDC failed that responsibility miserably during COVID when its disastrous and nonsensical policies destroyed small businesses, violated civil liberties, closed our schools, caused generational damage in doing so, masked infants with no science, and heightened economic inequality. And yet all those oppressive and unscientific interventions failed to do anything about the disease itself. America is home to 4.2% of the world's population, yet we had nearly 20% of the COVID deaths. We literally did worse than any country in the world. And the people at CDC who oversaw that process, who put masks on our children, who closed our schools, are the people who will be leaving.
So they're getting on RFK for the people that are resigning and that they're firing. But you hear what he said? He's firing the people who were at the CDC who participated in this bull crap. Why would he keep them? But the Democrats are all, just like one lady who runs the CDC, she was fired. Well, resigned, fired. And she said, she stepped away because there was a difference. And RFK in this hearing, I won't play it, but you can find it online. He called it out flat out. No, she's lying. He fired her because in a meeting with other people around, he said, are you trustworthy? And she looked at him and said, no. So he said, oh, thank you for being honest. You're done. But she couldn't come up and tell the public that that's what she did. So what did she do? She spun it to say, he let me go because I didn't just okay his pushback on the jabs. There was witnesses there. Democrats do not care about lying. Matter of fact, their motto is if you tell a lie big enough and enough times, people will believe it. And that's what they do. They jump on her. Now, speaking of that, RFK is going to call one senator out to her face and straight up tell her she's lying. But real quick, check out what he does to Senator Wyden, and he's going to call him out. Listen to this. You will not believe this. How many times do you believe a child, by the time they're 18, has been jabbed? Check this out. And think about your own children and ask yourself, damn, had you ever counted?
Behind me, I know it's gonna be hard to see from there. I can barely read it. This is the current CDC recommendations for vaccines for children. On day number 1, they get their first jab, a hepatitis vaccine. By the time they're 18 months, they've had 18 jabs. By the time they get to be able to vote, they have 76 jabs. Behind me,
76 jabs by the time they're 18. 76. And for what? For what? This is insane. So I got one more clip I wanted to bring. I know this video is a little longer than usual, but he's going to call her out for lying directly to her face. And as you can see, this is the part where people say, okay, RFK, check this clip out right here, where he just going to straight bring it to Senator Masto.
the FDA, why you unilaterally changed the parameters for giving vaccines, making it possible now, to Senator Cassidy's colleagues' points, that they're going to have to go off-label
This is crazy talk.
to
You're just making stuff up.
prescribe a vaccine for children. I'm not making things up. Do you know how the FDA approval process works? And what,
Yeah, I do.
what
I know exactly.
what an off, do you know what an off-label
I
prescription
know
is?
exactly how it works. I know exactly how it works.
So why behind closed doors?
It's not
did
behind
you-
closed doors. The industry makes the studies, and they could not provide a study that said that it is effective for healthy
So
kids.
when have you produced the data that you relied on and that this FDA relied on to change those parameters? You did it behind
That
closed
data-
doors.
no, the
And
data is
now
all
parents-
public.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just
COVID
making
vaccine
stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're
making
just
stuff up.
making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy. So let's just
I'm
settle
happy.
with this. So here's what's going to happen. To Senator Warner's point, to the parents who are concerned all around the country, to people who want to get the COVID vaccine this fall, even if they're under 65, because the boosters have worked, there's been much less serious disease. People do not have the same
Much less serious disease. Do you hear that?
level of threat and risk from COVID that they used to because of these vaccines. People who want to exercise their freedom of choice are being denied that
No, they aren't. Everybody can get the vaccine.
because you are citing data that you won't produce to the public.
You're just
And you are rejecting
You're
science.
making things up to scare people, and it's a lie.
I
Anybody
don't
can
think,
get
I
that.
don't, with respect, I do not think I'm the one making.
You are
Thank you, Mr.
lying
Chair.
right now.
As you heard, he told her to her face, you are flat out lying right now. So listen, I just wanted to bring you those clips because the hearing was hours and hours and hours. And the fact is, if you stayed and you watched it this far, I appreciate you. And obviously, you really want to know what's going on because a lot of people jump on, they look for a couple of minutes, and then they run off and they wonder, why are they blindsided when these things are happening? It's right here in front of our face. And you got RFK going in there facing the gauntlet. And he took it on the chin and he gave it as well as he took it. And at the end of the day, if the Democrats' intention was to embarrass him, it didn't work. He actually made them look like fools because they're pushing a product that the American people don't trust, don't believe in, and that we all know now doesn't work. And you know who we haven't seen yet? Bill Gates. I'm waiting on him to pop up and pop out, but he's been quiet ever since he got caught up in Jeffrey Epstein, Blepstein's situation with the 16-year-old, let me just say, the underage tennis player that he was allegedly blackmailed for messing around with. That's why his wife allegedly left him. She spoke about it in an interview that she did with Gayle King. So, all of this crap with the jab, we getting in the winter months, get ready because they about to try to make a mean push to get people running to the CVSs and the Walgreens and to the doctor to get this thing. And it always baffled my mind how an individual will walk up to a CVS and Walgreens and let some person that's there that we hope is certified, degreed up. I don't know what their hiring processes are, but I don't feel comfortable walking into the local corner drugstore like a Walgreens or a CVS and letting somebody inject something into my arm. Regardless, even if I was with that, I wouldn't be with that. But I'm not. I'm one of these people that was up on it from the jump, paid attention, and I'm going to do a deep dive that I'm going to put up on the site and that goes deep and has actual interviews from the doctors who helped make it. And you hear what they had to say will blow your mind. But hey, if you hung out with me and watched this video, thank you so much from the top and the bottom of my heart. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.